the real meanings of some of these Buddhist symbols. These symbols indicate certain incidents and history and the Dhamma and the nature to express the Buddhist concepts on various subjects. So when you take the first item, not the first item, let us start from here. Pagoda. What is this word? Do you know the meaning of this word? This is not a Pali or Sanskrit word. Few hundred years ago we started this word. Formerly we have never heard. Pali word is Chaitya and the Sanskrit word is Chaitya. When you read Pali book, you can see Chaitya everywhere. Same word in Sanskrit, we use Chaitya. Pagoda is actually a Portuguese word. The Portuguese word is pagote. The meaning is doom. After that, we started to use this word to introduce Buddhist Chaitya. So many people know this word rather than Chaitya or Chaitya. Especially Sedagon Pagoda in Burma. They use this word pagoda. But this is, actually speaking, this is not a Buddhist symbol. Because many people do not know the history. When you observe this very carefully, this so-called Buddhist pagoda and the mosque, a Hindu temple and a church building, there you can see similarities. Especially this pagoda and mosque, those two are very close. Then how this one was originated? So according to our knowledge, this symbol was originated in India, and we do not know how many thousands of years ago. When you read Mahaparinibbana Sutta, when the Buddha started his journey to go to Kusinara, on the way, he has pointed out various Chaityas to his disciples. That clearly shows the Chaitya or the pagoda were very common in India at that time as a place of worship. Then how did they start? They have started to erect this Chaitya or pagoda to enshrine the ashes or the relics of the kings or the emperors or religious people. After enshrining, they started to erect this pagoda. But the meaning of the shape is very important here. There are 4 stages. This one, this one, this one, and this one. 4 stages. And this is the base. And ashes, they bury here. The meaning of these 4 stages is Pathavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo. Do you know the meanings? 4 elements. Pathavi, this is Pathavi, earth or solidity. Any solid thing we can introduce as Pathavi. Apo. What is Apo? Not Apo. Water. Solidity. In simple language, bubble. This is water. Tejo. Heat energy. Vayu, what is Vayu? Wind or motions. These are the 4 elements. So to indicate these 4 elements, and they have erected this one by introducing a shape. Most of them are decorations here and there. Then what is the meaning? When a person dies, the elements of the body again absorbs into the same elements. Here we have 4 elements. So after our death, all these 4 elements absorb into the existing same elements. This is called dissolution or disintegration. So this is the significance of pagoda. So we bury the ashes here and regard this portion as the earth. Then after that, the solidity we introduce as a bubble. This is the pagoda. This part of the pagoda is a bubble. And the heat energy goes up. Temperature goes up. After that, the wind completely dissolves all the other elements. And after that, we cannot see a person or a physical body, but never disappear, all the elements. But they have learned only that much. Because in the ancient philosophy, also they say, after our death, all the 4 elements again absorb into the same elements, and that is the end of our life. As at that time, they had no knowledge about the human consciousness or the mental energy. So after this dissolution of the elements, the existing mental energy or the consciousness again joined with the existing elements. They could not understand this. Only Buddhism or the Buddha has introduced this. That is how another life or another existence take place after our death. That departed mental energy is responsible for that, but not the existing elements of the body. So, when the disciples ask, especially Ananda, what to do with his dead body, then the Buddha has given instructions. So after my death, you can wrap my body with so many layers of clothes and cremate. After that, collect all the ashes or the relics and bury them and erect a pagoda. And the Buddha has given this advice. Then he asked, for what purpose? For people to remember this religious teacher who has served the whole mankind, who has given a wonderful message for us to live peacefully and to find out our salvation. So, when they visit this place, they can recall and they develop devotion and confidence and courage and inspire for them to follow this religious teacher. That is the idea of erecting a pagoda or the chaitya in a temple. Later, all the others, Hindus, actually they have started this, but they had only that knowledge, only about 4 elements at that time. And Muslims and Christian church, when you analyze, you can see if you reduce this part and this way, again if you put the cross here, then it will become church. So, originated from the same place. This is the significance of pagoda. Now let us come to this one. This is called Dhammacakra, Pali. Dharmacakra, Sanskrit. You can use either. One particular discourse, or the first sermon of the Buddha, that he delivered is Sarnath, Isipatana, Benares, is known as Dhammacakra Sutra. Dhamma means law, Chakra means wheel, wheel of the law. So the meaning of this word is wheel of the law. The word Dhamma carries so many meanings. Dhamma or Dharma. The first meaning is law, not a man-made law, natural law. Man cannot create natural law, and man cannot change or destroy natural law. So we are referring to this natural law. Birth is natural. Sicknesses are natural. Decaying is natural. Death is natural. Suffering is natural. Worries and miseries and problems are natural. All these are dharma. So if we can understand this, that is more than enough to know what the dhamma is. The things that we cannot stop, that we cannot change, natural occurrences. We pray to the Buddha, we pray to God, we pray to some other supernatural living beings, asking the favors, asking them to stop these things. But they are also subject to same natural law. So how can they stop? They also have to face death. Then some other meanings. Nature and Dhamma or natural law give the same meaning. Another meaning is justice, peace. Because those who follow this Dhamma experience or practice justice and experience peace, can avoid so many problems by knowing what this Dharma is. Later, during Emperor Asoka's time, that means 224 or 26, I cannot remember exactly, after the passing away of the Buddha. So when he wanted to introduce Buddhism all over the country, he introduced this as a symbol, as a Buddhist symbol. Those days, in India, there were many religions. Even today also you can find so many. To recognize the Buddhist community, the Emperor Asoka tried to introduce this for Buddhists to wear, just like crossed by Christians. That is how this has become a Buddhist symbol. Then the meaning of the spoke, and these things are decoration. This artistic impression, no meaning. Only these spoke. There are 4 wheels, 6 wheels, 8 wheels, not wheel, spoke. Then 12, 16 and 32. So far they have discovered. The meaning, 4 spoke indicate the 4 noble truths. That's all. The 6 spoke wheels indicate the 6 senses. What are the 6 senses? These 5 and the mind. 6 senses. 8 spokes, one is very famous. Many people use 8 for eightfold noble path. Eightfold noble path. One path, but 8 items. It's called eightfold noble path. And what are those 8 paths? Not 8 paths actually, 8 items. Only one path. What are those 8 items? Samma Ditthi, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. 8. Meaning, right Sammaditthi. What is Sammaditthi? Right? Right understanding. We have to start with right understanding. If our understanding is wrong, everything goes wrong. If we maintain wrong concept, wrong attitude, wrong belief to practice a religion, we won't be able to experience the good result. right understanding. That is why we are trying to learn. If not, we can maintain all sort of belief, what others maintain according to their religion. But we cannot satisfy with mere belief or concept. We want to know. This is called right understanding. Samma ditti, samma sankappa. What is the meaning? We say right thoughts. What is right thoughts? We must know the nature of thoughts that which appear in our mind. We never concentrate on our thoughts. When anger, cruelty, jealousy appear in our mind, if you can understand, now there is anger in my mind, there is jealousy in my mind, this is not a good attitude. This can create a lot of problems and suffering. Therefore, I must try not to accommodate such things. Again, good ideas sometimes appear in the bad man's mind also. They also do a lot of good deeds. So when certain good thoughts appear in your mind, such as, oh, I must have courage to tolerate this nuisance without creating trouble, without scolding, without beating, without cursing, I must tolerate, I must have patience to face this. It is a good thought. So if you can maintain this, this is good mental attitude. Right thoughts are based on this attitude. Now this is Buddhism. Third one, samma vacha. Vacha means words. Right, a speech. In simple language, art of talk. You must know how to talk gently, without hurting, disturbing others. There are so many ways for us to use all sorts of words, but many of those words that we use disturb others. That is the third item. Samma kammanta, right action. Action means by using our physical body, we do a lot of things for our living, for our protection, and to enjoy our life. But some of our actions are very bad, very selfish, very cruel, harmful. By violating all the existing moral code or discipline, we do so many things. There is no right action. We can say we have to do this for our living. It is not an excuse. If you hurt others, disturb others for your living, it is not right living. It is only a living. Usually, to enjoy our life within this lifetime, we commit a lot of bad things. That is called bad karma or akusala karma. But the idea is to enjoy our life. On the other hand, to enjoy our life in the next birth, we do a lot of good deeds by supporting others. But the intention is the same. You understand? You go and rob and kill and disturb others to enjoy your life within this lifetime. You offer dana, you help others and you relieve others' suffering by thinking after your death you can enjoy your life in heaven. Both these beliefs are based on craving. Remember this. If there is no craving in your mind, you never crave for the next life to enjoy, either in heaven or human world or somewhere else. But that craving is not a bad craving. The craving that you develop to enjoy your life within this lifetime by disturbing others, you gain something you really enjoy. But that is called bad karma. In the next life, such people have no chance to experience peace and happiness in their life. So the aim of Buddhism is, please remember, now you can see the difference between Buddhism and all the other existing religions. The aim of all the other religions is to go to heaven and enjoy life. Eternal craving is there. The aim of Buddhism is not to go to heaven and enjoy life by knowing heaven is not the ultimate aim or the goal. We have to go beyond by reducing that craving. After that, we never experience unsatisfactoriness in our life. This is the difference. So, Samma Dittha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama. Efforts. We have to use some sort of efforts. But this is not actually a physical effort, mental. It's a very big battle. What is this battle? When you come to know certain evil thoughts appear in your mind, by developing your mindfulness, you realize certain evil thoughts appear. Immediately, you use your full effort to calm or to bring down that particular evil thought without allowing that evil thoughts to create or to influence the mind to do certain bad things. That is called real efforts. Again, certain good thoughts appear, immediately disappear. You don't want to develop. So when you come to know some good thoughts appear in your mind, use this effort to maintain, to nurture, support this thought, cultivate. Later you can do a lot of good things. Again, the other aspect. Still there are certain evil thoughts that which never appear in your mind. But there is no guarantee such evil thoughts never appear. So by realizing this, you must know how to guard your mind without allowing such evil thoughts to appear in your mind. Guard your mind. Here you can see the beauty or the advantage of meditation is to guard this mind without allowing all those evil thoughts to come and disturb the mind. Even for 5 minutes, if you can do this. Again, certain good thoughts also not yet appear. But when you look at others, there are some who have developed. Then try to develop such good thoughts in your mind also. Use your effort. There are 4 ways for you to develop these efforts. That is the meaning of right effort. Then Samma Sati. Sati means mindfulness. By fixing our mind on to one particular object, without allowing our mind to jump here and there, and without allowing these 5 senses to bring so many objects from here and there, fix the mind only on one particular point. Then you can reduce your tension and the temperature, so many mental disturbances, because mind get the chance to relax. Otherwise, all the while, every second, the mind had to work to accommodate certain things and to reject certain things. The senses bring all these things from outside. To avoid certain things, we had to use full effort. The mind feel unrest at that time, to reject. Somebody come and scold you by using dirty word. At that time, you allow these sound vibration to enter into your mind and disturb. Then you use your full effort. Sometimes you close your ears also. It doesn't work. Here inside, boiling. But if you fix the mind to one particular object, you can avoid all those things. I think you can remember the story that I told you. Venerable Sariputta was scolded by an angry man. He was very angry with him. By using all the dirty word, he scolded him. But he was using this one-pointedness at that time. That means his mind work only through this line. All the other channels were closed. Scolded, no response. Just like scolding to a coconut tree. Then this man asked, did you hear what I said? Then he changed that object and focused his mind toward this man. Then he asked, what did you say? You didn't hear that I scolded you? No, I didn't hear anything because I was concentrating on something else. Do you think that we cannot do that? There are people who can do this. That is why we have to train our mind. Then after that, the person who comes and scolds you become the defeated man. Because he could not arouse your anger. He could not hurt your feeling. That is what Buddhism teaches us. So, sati means this one-pointedness which support our mind to experience calmness in the mind. Then come to the last item, samadhi. Samadhi is a very difficult subject. We go on training, taming, disciplining our mind to handle this mind without misusing. By eradicating all the evil thoughts and cultivating all the good thoughts. When there are no more selfishness, anger or jealousy or grudge or ill feeling, the mind experience real bliss. It is called bliss. No more disturbances in that mind. And the roots of all those evil thoughts also completely uprooted, eradicated. Then the mind experienced that samadhi stage. 8 noble paths. So these 8 indicate the 8-fold noble paths. Then 12. A spoke divide into various groups. Here in this wheel, this indicate 12 link. 12 links means wheel of existence. What are those 12 links? Avidya paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnanam, vijnana paccaya namarupam, namarupa paccaya salayatanam, salayatana paccaya phasso, phassa paccaya vedana, vedana paccaya tanha, tanha paccaya upadanam, upadana paccaya bhavo, bhava paccaya jati. Jati paccaya jara maranam soka parideva dukkha domanas upayas. The wheel of existence. How we go round and round and round within this cycle of birth and death. That is called samsara chakra, wheel of existence. Because of these 12 links, one is attached to the other. That means when this one appears, because of this, another one will appear. Because of that thing, another one will appear. Because of that thing, another one will appear. Then go one round. And again join with the same place where we started. That is ignorance. Started from ignorance. That is what the Buddha says. It is impossible for you to find out the beginning. Because there is no beginning. This goes round and round like this. All are interrelated. You cannot separate one particular item. One cannot exist independently. 12. Then 32. 32 characteristics of the Buddhas. When we observe his physical body from here up to the feet, there are 32 special marks, characteristics. This a special dot here and here. And the formations of his nose and the lips and the hands and the complexions and the teeth. So 32. Not like an ordinary human being. That is why many people could not understand whether this is a real human being or any other kind of supernatural living being. They asked this. Then the Buddha said, I am not a supernatural living being. Then when he was asked whether he is a normal human being, he said, no, I am not an ordinary human being. Because his way of life, his knowledge, his wisdom, his enlightenment and all the characteristics are entirely different. But he never claimed that he is a son of God or messenger of God. Any divinity you cannot find in the Buddha's teaching. He wanted to tell others these things are natural. We also can gain all these special marks and knowledge and wisdom and everything if we also work for that. This is his attitude. This is the meaning of Dhammacakkaviya. This is real meaningful. So many meanings. The whole Buddhism is there. Then we come to this one. This is a very controversial one. Especially during the Second World War. Hitler misused this one. And British and American hate this one. But the Hitler's swastika is not exactly like this. The other way around, negative side. If you notice, you can see. So the real swastika start like this, like seven, like this way. And Hitler's swastika start from here this way and go this way. That is the difference, the negative side. And what is the meaning of this word? Also Sanskrit word, swastika. Swasti means the very auspicious, special. For blessing, they use the word swasti. The meaning is, may you be well and happy, in Sanskrit, swasti. So later, this has become a symbol of auspicious character, or the time, or for good luck, prosperity. Again, people started to use this one in India for their prosperity, just like cross. And some people say, I do not know how far it is true. The cross also derived from this. Erase this part and this part. Some people say, I do not know how far it is true. Anyway, at that time, during the time of Jesus Christ, cross was not a very good auspicious mark. You know the history. So, when this symbol was introduced to China, they have developed this. They are the ones who introduced this and given many more meanings. When you study ancient Chinese character, and they have used this for 10,000, this swastika, this mark, for 10,000 characters or good lucks or prosperity, for so many other things. Later, first time, they are the ones who started to engrave swastika in the Buddha's chest. In India, they have never seen this swastika marks in the Buddha's chest. They started in China to indicate this religious teacher possessed 10,000 virtues, characteristics. Today you can see this is very common in China, in Korea, Japan, and Vietnam, and some other countries. The chest of the Buddha, you can see the swastika mark. However, this was not a Buddhist symbol in India at that time. But later, many people used this for their good luck. So in China, they introduced this as a Buddhist symbol. They developed this. So these are the simple meaning of this important symbol. And there is another one. we have not drawn, that one is not very important. That is lotus flower. The Pali word is Paduma. Sanskrit word is Padma. Many of you have heard or read the Lotus Sutra. But the original name of this sutra in the Sanskrit language, because they have written this in India, Saddharma Pundarika, the word Pundarika, Saddharma Pundarika Sutra. In English, we introduce as Lotus Sutra. To Buddhists, there is a special significance. In the Buddha's teaching, we can find only this, but not these items. But the pagoda, just now I mentioned. When you read Dhammapada, you will come across this. Yatha sankhara dhanasmin ujjitasmin mahapathe padumam tattva jayeta suchigandhan Manorama. Evam sankhara bhutesu andabhute putujjane atirochati panyaya samma sambuddha savaka. When you go back, if you got this book, you can read. Then you get more meaning. Yatha sankhara dharatmin. Alphabetical order, the index, you can see Y, under Y, Yatha, Y-A-T-H-A, Yatha, Yatha Sankhara Dhanasmi. Now one of the discourses given by the Buddha is very meaningful. He says, this lotus flower that everybody loves, but this lotus flower or the plant was started from the dirty and muddy water. When this plant is under the water, in the dirty water, nobody wants to go near. Of course, when you want to take out the roots, you take the whole things and take out the roots for eating. Here we are talking about the flower. If that root is not there, you never touch that. Started from such dirty, muddy water. But when the bud, lotus bud, started from there, slowly come up and up and up and up and come above the surface of the water, then open. After that, everybody love and like it. In the same manner, in the comparison, our physical body started from a very dirty, ugly place. There is no beauty at all. If you open and see, we close the nose. Started from there. Then develop and develop and develop and develop. Then develop more virtues, more good qualities, more knowledge, more wisdom. Then goes above the normal human community. Then millions and millions of people go and worship, respect, love, appreciate, but originated from such a dirty place. That is only physical body. Again, he pointed out, this mind, when you analyze this, you can see more evil thoughts, more wicked, selfish thoughts, more dangerous and harmful thoughts. Therefore, many people don't like such people. Try to keep away from them. Later, when we develop this mind by reducing and eradicating all the evil, mud and dirt and wicked, harmful things, that person becomes a holy man, harmless man, perfect man, and everybody honor him, respect him, because he has gone beyond the ordinary man's way of thinking. Now he is honest, kind, compassionate, ready to do any service to anybody, no selfish ideas in his mind, no evil thoughts in his mind. That is the symbol or the meaning of the lotus flower. So especially in Mahayana Buddhism, they pay more attention towards lotus flower because of this Lotus Sutra. In the Lotus Sutra, you can see a lot of very rich philosophy and the Buddha's teaching. It is a Mahayana Sutra, but the various important aspects of the Buddha's teaching you can find in Saddharma Pundarika or the Lotus Sutra. And some extra teachings which we cannot find in the basic teaching, they have developed, such as Bodhisattva cult, Amitabha cult, Sukhavati cult. They develop further and further. These items you cannot find in the original Pali Tripitaka, because they have introduced these things 700 or 800 years after the Buddha, not before that. Now you can understand why we always use the lotus flower as a Buddhist symbol. It is very meaningful. Then there is another one that we use for meditation, beads. The number of beads they use either 8 or 7 or 21 or 121. Those who study numerology can explain why these numbers. Buddhism never talk anything about these numbers. But there is something which we cannot understand. People use for their worldly purposes, not for their knowledge, wisdom, or religious way of life. Those who want to get lucky numbers, they know how to make numbers. When an accident takes place, they go and take numbers. They say they got something. But we cannot account. We cannot explain how these things work. These things are known as mysticism, some sort of mystical power where we cannot find any religious value. That is why the Buddha did not want to talk anything about this thing. Because all these are worldly things. Because worldly things are uncertain, changeable, in the end create more miseries and problems. However, the numbers are not very important here. What is the significance of this thing? When we use this for meditation, sometimes the Christian, mostly Catholics, also come and, oh, you people also use this one. Because they have not heard that they have borrowed from Buddhists. When you read that book, written by the Christian priest, Two Masters, One Message, in that book, he has mentioned few items that they have borrowed from Buddhists, or from Hindus also, we can say, from India. This is one of them. Because he says, at that time, when Jesus was born, among his community or in that country, they have never heard anything about these beads. They have learned this from India after many hundred years that Jesus passed away. Another thing he mentioned in this book, shaving head. Those days, many Catholics, especially nuns, shave their head. And he says, there was no such religious practice in that part of the world at that time. And they have learned this and the monastic life from Buddhists and Hindus from India. And celibacy was unknown to them at that time. There was no such system. In fact, their belief is that every man or woman must get married, must produce children. That is the will of God. God created you to produce children. That is the main purpose of his creation, it is mentioned. But Hinduism and Buddhism preaches, but not as a religious law. Those who can, or those who know how to appreciate and understand the problems and difficulties and burdens and worries and other things by considering about their married life. So they are at liberty to lead a single life by observing celibacy. Then they can reduce thousands and one thing, the problem that disturb the mind. Easily can lead a pure religious life. So all these things they have learned from Buddhism and Hinduism. The main purpose of this is to arrest the mind for this meditation, especially for those who recite. There are 40 objects for our meditation. Those who cannot concentrate without uttering something. So recitals are important to concentrate for two things. First, we had to concentrate on the subject matters, the words that we recite, the meaning, the ideas. Second thing, we concentrate on the sound vibration. These two things arrest the mind to concentrate without difficulties. Then, why do they count? To gain more satisfaction. After reciting, they realize they have recited more than 100, more than 1,000, more than 2,000 times. Then develop more and more confidence. Another thing, when we recite some words, either for blessing or meditation, at that time we imbue or we inject our mental energy into that particular object. Now let us take a glass of water and go on reciting some sutras. I recite only once, or 3 times, or 7 times, or 100 times, or 1,000 times. To chant for 1,000 times, I had to concentrate. I had to focus your mind toward this water. And the water got some sort of power to absorb this sound vibration. After that, we bless, we allow people to drink, and they experience a very good result. So in the same manner, when we recite these things for meditation, we can contain the purity of the mind for a long period. Now this is the significance of weed. And another thing, these oil lamps, the lights. Why people are very particular to light oil lamp in spite of thousands of bulbs can give more brightness. But many people cannot satisfy without lighting an oil lamp. There is a strong belief that I do not know, it is a belief that certain devas and some spirits like the brightness which comes from the oil, but not the electricity. They don't like electricity. So when you switch on the light, I think they run away. They don't like, but they like oil lamp. This is a belief, especially when they offer light to devas and the Buddha also. In many countries, still they use the oil lamp. They don't like candles. They say candle is dirty, not pure. Oil lamp is pure. So, oil, coconut oil got medicinal value. Can cure many sicknesses. So the brightness that we create, either by using oil lamps or any other kinds of light, is an offering. In another discourses, the Buddha has mentioned this. Dīpado hoti cakkhudo, meaning those who offer brightness, provide brightness to those who are in the dark. In return, they get very clear eye vision, eyesight, and can avoid so many sicknesses, eye sicknesses. Dīpado hoti cakkhudo, offering of light in worldly sense as a worldly gain for our life, we get back very sharp, very clear eyes and no sicknesses also. And I cannot remember that I ever suffered from any sicknesses in my eyes so far. And I am diabetic, and doctors say every 6 months must go and check up eyes. Otherwise, any time it will spoil the eyes. More than 25 years diabetes. Every time when doctors examine my eyes, they say my eyes are perfect. That means I might have offered a lot of lights during my past birth. No, I'm not joking. There's significance. The happiness that we gain, having seen the brightness after offering the light, create the merits. Different kinds of merits gives us different effect. Certain merits support us to lead a healthy life. Certain merits support us to lead a long life. Then certain merits support us to lead a wealthy life, comfortable life. Certain merits support us to be bright, intelligent. So, there are various kinds of merit that we need as long as we exist in this world. But the main purpose of Buddhism is not to produce all these things forever, because these things are changeable. After experiencing within one life, the merit that we have accrued also gone, evaporated. Then again we have to create. Then we are at the end of it. So that is why life is uncertain. Again and again and again we have to create more and more karmas, by doing more good deeds. It is also some sort of suffering. Every day we have to do something to accumulate merit. If we neglect, we get into trouble. Then, when we offer this light, we recite something. What do you recite? Every day you recite, but you cannot single out. What do you recite to offer light? Cannot. Ghanasarappadittena deepena tamadansina tiloka deepang sambuddham pujayami tamodana. This is the one you recite. You have read in Handbook of Buddhism the meaning. Ghanasarappadittena deepena tamadansina. I offer this light to dispel the darkness. To a religious teacher who dispel the darkness of ignorance from the man's mind. So in appreciation of this enlightenment, I offer this light, this brightness, Tiloka Deepa, one who has illuminated 3 worlds. What are the 3 worlds? America, Russia, China, isn't it? What are the 3 worlds? Kamaloka, Rupaloka, Arupaloka. Meaning, now we are in the Kamaloka. Humans, animals, and devas also. All are in Kamaloka, meaning those living beings who experience sensual pleasure. All the 5 senses and the mind experience. We are fighting, we create jealousy, anger, all these things because of this pleasure. So the Buddha advised us our duties and to avoid certain things, to do certain things. That is how he has enlightened us, illuminated us. Then the next one is Rupaloka. Beyond this, there is another world system that is called Rupaloka. What is the meaning? It is called fine material world. Mostly Brahmas, those who are born in this particular area, develop attachment towards the fine materials, existence, the forms, and they cling to it. But they are more fortunate than human beings and ordinary devas. But ignorance is still there. So the Buddha has pointed out that is not the final goal. There will be an end to their life also. Then the other world system is called Arupaloka. The life that which exists without any physical body or formation or structure, but the life exists, but no visible structure. So many people, especially Hindus in those days, believe this is the final goal. Buddha pointed out this is not the final goal. This is the way how he has illuminated, enlightened the 3 world system. And the offering of light to such a great religious teacher create lot of merits, create lot of happiness. So how many things you have learned today? Pagoda, Dhammacakka, swastika, lotus, beads, light. 6 items. Oh, Buddhist flag. Oh, I completely forgot about that. Not the flag. This is called Buddha Rasmi. Cosmic rays which are spread from the head, on the top of the head of the Buddha. 6 colors. This is the real meaning. Nila, Pita, Lohita, Odata, Manjetta, Prabhasara. These are the 6. 6 colors. Later, only about 100 years ago, they have made the Buddhist flag by taking these 6 colors. Very symbolic. Nila, blue. Pita, yellow. Lohita, red. Odata, white. Manjetta, like pink. Then the mixture of these 5 again make another color. That is why we say 6 colors. Actually there are 5 colors. But the mixture of these 5 in the end create another color. And this is the way how these colors are spread from the Buddha's body. This is the indications of the real enlightenment. Only an enlightened Buddha gained this, but not by any other religious teacher or Arahantas or Pacceka Buddhas. But others, not only Buddhists, Hindus or even Christian or Muslim also, that makes no difference. If they develop their mind, if they reduce their evil thought from the mind, they too get only one color. Only one color. Arahantas, only one color. Only Supreme Enlightened, the Buddha, get all the 5 colors. These are cosmic rays. Then it is mentioned in our books how these different colors spread from the body. Physical body. A blue close to the black color come out from the hair of the body. Then the red come out from the blood. White from the bones and the teeth. Yellow from the skin. It is mentioned the complexion, the skin color of the Buddha is a golden color. Then the last one, this maroon, I think maroon, isn't it? Maroons or pink colors come out from the palm of the Buddha. That is how he created these 5 colors. But people cannot see these colors always. So when it is necessary for him to produce, then spread these colors. Just like cobra. When cobra is normal, you cannot see the hood. When get up, then you can see. It's exactly like this. So in the case of the Buddha, there were many people who could not believe that he has gained his enlightenment. Still they have doubts. To clarify such doubts, then he produced this. Then they realized that this person is not an ordinary religious teacher. He is an extraordinary religious teacher, occasionally. And the first time that he noticed these 5 colors was 4th week after his enlightenment. He spent 7 weeks in 7 places. First week under the Bodhi tree, Pathamang Bodhi Pallanka. Dutiyancha Animisa. Second week, by standing for 1 week, paid respect to the Bodhi tree. Because this tree has given him shelter for gaining his enlightenment. So the first example that he has shown to the world is to show our gratitude, even to such inanimate plant. Then the third week, Devas had some sort of doubt whether this person gained enlightenment or not. Then crossing created another Buddha in a narrow golden bridge and crossing each other without any difficulty. When both the Buddhas come to the center, they change. But no one can understand how, because so narrow the bridge. So, having seen this miracle, Devas realized, oh, this man got his enlightenment. He has done this for 1 week. Then the fourth one. Patamang bodhipalankang dutiyancha animmisang tatiyang stankamanan chatuthang ratanaghara, golden chamber, golden house. The book says this small house, shelter, was created by some devas. So he was sitting there and started to contemplate on Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma means analytical interpretation of the elements and energies, or elements or mental energies. So when you started to analyze and analyze and analyze all the existing nature of elements and energies, these 5 colors started to spread first time, 4th week. Later, so 100 years ago, so we have introduced Buddhist flag to indicate these 5 colors. So 1.5 hours today. So 7 symbols. Okay. Coming Friday, yes, we can continue our questions and answers. Yes, any question? Can spend 3 minutes. No orange actually. Yellow. And the last one is not orange, but very difficult for us to indicate. Pink is more meaningful than orange. No orange color there. So the Pali words are Nila, Pita, Lohita, Odat. And Manjetta, the Pali word for this pink. It is not orange actually. Because orange color is in between red and yellow. It's a mixture of red and yellow. Of course, originated in India. You know, when Chinese travelers visited India, 4th century, 6th century, 9th century, Faxian, Yuanxian, Yixing, they have studied all these things, collected a lot of relics and books, and studied languages, gone back, and introduced these things. Formerly in China, they never had this kind of pagoda. They might have some other forms of symbols, but the Buddhist symbol, they started from there. Then later, in different countries, they have developed according to their culture. Culture means architecture. So they change the shape from here and there. That is why you can see the difference from Chinese pagoda and Indian pagoda, and Chinese pagoda and Japanese pagoda, and Japanese pagoda and Burmese pagoda. They are architectural design, but the same origins. Incense, it is actually an Indian custom. to burn incense. This is also one of the items introduced by that Christian priest that they have learned from Hindus and Buddhists, using incense as offering. But Chinese in those days used to burn a lot of papers, just papers, when somebody dies. But today they do this as some sort of customs or offering or to avoid evil spirits. But the real meaning is, after 24 hours, all sort of germs, come out from the physical body when they decompose, started already. In Europe, people were not allowed to keep a dead body for more than 24 hours at home. If they want to keep for more than 24 hours, there are separate building for them to carry this body and keep there for hygienic reason. So they keep these dead bodies for so many days. The burning of these just papers, the smoke, to burn all the germs and virus and the smell, to avoid the smell. That is how this one was originated. But today they do as a custom. And offering of incense creates some sort of feeling, inspiration, and some sort of religious feeling, because we use these things only for religious activities. And then remember, supposing a dying man is still conscious, if we really want to help that dying man to have a better rebirth, we must try to show something, some religious symbol or some sound, recitals, vibration, if not something that he can appreciate. Assume you want to offer some jousting, and if he get this smell, at once he recall. Otherwise, very hard for this person to recall. Mind is confused at that time. Mind is very weak at that moment. Therefore, we need some sort of external support to recall our religious concept and belief and activities and the merits. Again, when we burn this thing, we purify the religious sense, we purify the atmosphere. Of course, the way how Chinese burn joss-stick is not to purify, but to create a very, very bad atmosphere, the smoke, people cannot breathe also. And some houses also they burn. And they have gone to such extent. 3 joss-sticks are more than enough for offering, for anything, whether during the funeral or for offering. 3 are more than enough. Again, those days they use very nice sweets, creates very nice fragrance, a smell. But today when you burn all these things, no smell at all. All this powder they collect from the timber, this meal, and make joss-stick. Only smoke, but no smell. The real meaning is, as I mentioned, various purpose. But to us, to create some sort of religious atmosphere and get some inspiration. Other than that, Buddhism never talk anything about all these things.
You have explained the meaning of swastika, but how did the sign originate?
I don't think that I can answer that question, because they have started few thousand years ago, earlier, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, nobody knows. But they had this belief, this is something to indicate for the auspicious thing, prosperity. It's a symbol. But I do not know why they started in this way. No explanation is given anywhere. to stop, 9:35.
Okay.
ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං දේවෝ වස්සතු කාලේන සස්ස සම්පත්ති හේතු ච පීතෝ භවතු ලෝකෝ ච රාජා භවතු ධම්මිකෝ ඉදං මේ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බානපත්තියා